Okay, hello everybody, and welcome to Mirasys webinar on VMS 8.3.4. In case you are not familiar with GoToMeeting, you can also hide our webcam or make it smaller, or even hide it completely in case you want to save some screen space. This webinar will also be recorded, and the footage of that one and the link will be sent to the registered participants. We encourage you to present chat questions, and we'll have a look at them in the end of the webinar. And we will, in case we are running out of time, we will answer all of the questions that are left by email. So, personally, my name is Reino Aavikko. I work as product manager at Mirasys. I have been a little bit over 1 year at the company at the current time. My previous life has been approximately 12 years doing RFID solutions for industry and logistics. That's also hardware related software from where I moved to video management side. And Michael?
Yeah, my name is Michael Schuh. I'm with Mirasys since over 12 years already. So I know the technical side and the life of Mirasys very well. My history is I had actually a 20-year military career before that at NATO, always in IT business. So I understand the challenges of networking and also video processing very well. I will guide you quickly through the agenda. So we will talk first about what do we mean with the Deep Vision Data Company. Then we will go a bit about the people who don't know Mirasys, what we did in the last over 25 years and where the future is going for us. And then we will talk about our flagship software, the version 8 of our video management system, and then the latest release, the 8.3.4. And then we will go to the questions and answers.
Okay, so as Michael mentioned, the Mirasys, we call ourselves a deep vision data company. This means in practice that our mission is to help our customers to benefit from the data generated from their video footage and other sensors. We enable you to make better business decisions by analyzing the data, optimize your processes, and by doing automation.
Okay, a bit about the history of the company. Like I said, we are over 20 years already in business. We started with banking, because the banks were the first one demanding a digital recording from their CCTV cameras. But since about 10 to 15 years, we opened other verticals also, like banking, government projects, casinos, railways, retail, or ports, airports, or harbors. And we found that our software can be very universal used in all these verticals to satisfy the customers' needs. And yeah, no, go ahead, it's fine.
Okay, so regarding the VMS version 8, which we are running currently, this has been, as Michael mentioned, our flagship product for already some years. So the software has streamlined installation and setup and is focusing on smooth connectivity with servers together and the cameras. has high scalability in the system, meaning like we can have close approximately even up to 20,000 cameras in one system. The version 8 has also improved secure data recording technology in it. What this means in practice is that it is able to cover significantly higher data amounts than previous generations, and also things like that you can have different sizes of hard drives in the system. The version 8 has also hardware enhanced, GPU enhanced H264 and H265 algorithms. And on the right hand side of the screen, you can see an example of our internal performance test. So for instance, for the H265, you can see that with our test setup on one computer, you can run 9 streams on one computer with the CPU, whereas if you take the GPU into use, you can over triple the amount of streams that are available to the user interface in practice. This version 8 generation provides also generic 360-degree fisheye dewarping capability, which also enhances possibilities of covering more different camera models with the fisheye, as well as in case there are some firmware issues in the or other issues in the dewarping from the camera side, this will allow you to take the advantage of those as well. This is one example of our user interface of the system. So what you see here is our so-called spotter user interface. This is the end user interface. And as example in here, you see on the top left side of the screen, you see plugins, which are a possibility to scale up this system in such a way that you can generate multiple different user interfaces or little extra solutions to our system. Currently, we have in-house built approximately over 10 of these, but we allow also external integrators to build these plugins. In the central side of the screen, there is always the video, and in this case, you have the six video tabs available. Also, you have the other components. You can see that here this user interface is highly configurable, meaning that it is possible to build different type of interfaces with this, depending on whether you want to focus on people who are, let's call it, with a minimal, they can start using the system with minimal training to have only the couple of buttons, or alternatively, if you have some power users, you can have all the different settings that you can think of available to them.
Yeah, beside a spotter user interface, we have certainly also mobile clients and the web application to access the streams if somebody doesn't want to use the application or is only sporadically looking at the video footage or the alarms. So we are on all sides up to the professional user who is working with the system every day, up to down to if somebody is only once per month logging into the system. One benefit I want to point out on the backend side, is the bandwidth management, because we know all the bandwidth limitation is always an issue, and also our backend provides many possibilities to handle this bandwidth limitations by using multi-streaming or multicasting. We have a casting even, which allows to access the stream directly from the camera in case the server would be for whatever reason not accessible. We are using metadata as much as we can to limit the required bandwidth, and have also this gateway server which can be scaled up if the performance is required to provide streams on external sites. So this is only one of the large amount of features we can offer on the backend to fulfill the customer requirements and make the system very high performance. Reno mentioned already scalability, that we can have up to 180 server in under one master server. That works very well, and we are even planning, if this means that 20,000 cameras about, but if then a country would decide, okay, I want to have all my cities, then we will have in the future even a higher hierarchy level where you can have multiple systems with this amount of cameras connected into one management platform.
Okay, this is example of a what we mean by the deep vision data. What we mean by the deep vision data. So that means that in the central we have the metadata in the system of the system. Metadata meaning typically text type data that is coming from the video analysis, external IoT components, etc. It can be, for instance, movement. It can be, for instance, temperature from some IoT sensors, some other analytics inputs, etc. And the idea is that we can provide means to gather all that data from different directions. We will also be providing different tools to analyze that and make use of that, but also help our customers to build external business applications together with the customer on top of that. There's a couple of examples on the screen on top of the metadata database. As an examples, you can see some analytics components. You can see some movement analysis, or there's the so-called heat map, for instance, on the right-hand side, and so forth. But the idea in here is that much of the business value outside of security, in the security as well, but outside of security, much of the business value is coming from using the metadata, for instance, to optimize some processes or do some process automatizations or improve some business decisions based on the analytics, what is actually happening on the field. For instance, you can detect how many people are moving in some specific area in order to improve the shop layout. Just an example of the one use case.
Okay, this was all already in our standard version 8. Now we are coming a bit more into the latest release, the 8.3.4, which is always the best release, is the latest release certainly. As you saw on the last slide, we are separating the metadata storage from the video footage storage, because we know that the video footage storage will be very expensive. When you have thousands of cameras, then you get easily into petabytes. With metadata, you are still in a gigabyte area. So you can store this data also over many more years and make business analytics out of it. And with artificial intelligence and deep learning, you can use this big data to make business decisions. And this is also in the 8.3.4. We have a lot of new features which help representing this data. And not only the video footage, but also the metadata. For example, we have a new plugin showing the graphical representation of data, alarms, events in the system. We have with this activity map also for the retail specific this motion representation of one camera or multiple cameras, and that can be compared. In the 834 specific, we have a lot of additional plugins which can be also used in older versions. It just has to be downloaded and installed. But we put this now as standard in the 834, that we have this watchdog event search, for example, to see the system health also is very important in the future, to have overview, what cameras are up and down, what is the problems on my network, in the servers, and all this information can be now easily accessed in one of the plugins. We come to this later in a demo also. And we have a camera health audit report and a lot of new features. So we really encourage you to try the latest version and the latest plugins to see how your customers can apply them to optimize their business process and get additional benefit out of their cameras, which is not only security, but usable in all kind of retails.
Okay, next we will move to a short demo of the new version of the software. So firstly, we go, or I'll go quickly through the main new features in the new version, the 8.3.4. And we will all, this is with the help of the, let's say, prepared video, and thereafter you will see also a live demo of the system. So as a first new feature shown will be a possibility to centralize the spotter device, i.e. camera, for instance, shortcuts, and in such a way that they can be shared between all spotters. The idea in this is that previously the shortcuts have been spotter per spotter basis, and especially for large systems, this has caused a maintenance cost to the users, especially on setting up, but also in case that some user or there is a new use case or new camera and whatnot, and there is potentially a need to go through all the spotter workstations to update the shortcuts between these devices. So firstly, how to configure this feature. This is done through the profile settings, and when you want to configure one particular camera, you firstly select that one under the profile, and then you set up the shortcut button, whatever you want it to be, and thereafter you are done. Then an example what it shows on the spotter side is that the number 1 opens the camera that was just defined, and unsurprisingly the camera 2 opens the second camera. So to simplify that the idea is that especially for large system that decreases the work amount needed to keep the system up to date. Thereafter, we have done some good improvements on the profile map. So in the map layout view, there is a possibility to see a live video directly and on a pop-up, possibility to open a camera group. Camera group means like a folder of cameras. So you can, for instance, open all cameras in one room or one area or something similar. For people using multiple monitors with the spotter, for instance, in operator room or similar, there is possibility to right-click the cameras to open them in a second monitor. Some usability convenience features: you can select the background color for images, can change the map image directly, and also you can have the map devices plug in on same camera grid as others. So again, how to configure this goes through the profile settings, add the map layout file that you want to use. In this case, it happens to be a country map, fully zoomable. In this, also in the configuration user interface. So firstly, an example to how to add this folder of cameras. This has been all previously configured on the profile settings, but under the folder there are multiple cameras already there. But the cameras can of course be included on the map one by one basis if you want it. Example of then adding the ordinary cameras on the screen, and there is a possibility to pinpoint the camera location in case the camera is smaller than what the icon of the camera shows. Changing the color, useful in case you, for instance, have a black layout, black background color for the layout. So you might want it to be something else than black. And then possibility to add also the I/O on the same map. This is convenient in case you, for instance, have the I/O related to the camera. But there's also the I/O can be totally, let's call it disconnected or separate from the camera in case you are using, for instance, a MOXA input-output module, which we support also. Then what it looks on the spotter side. The map is shown as a plugin. Also naturally fully zoomable on the spotter side, both by the mouse wheel as well as from the user interface. And there, okay, you cannot see it, but if you would be able, the button that was shown was for using that you can open the camera to another screen if you happen to have two screens in use at the same time. Example of this is a live footage what is on the screen right now. And also this was the camera group. Okay, in this case there was only two cameras connected, but the user clicked the camera group, i.e. camera folders. So you can open, for instance, all cameras on one site at the time. The cameras can be opened one by one as well. And as you can see, you can have the camera now on the same screen together with the, the map on the same screen as the cameras also nowadays. So there you can see very nicely how the live footage works together with ordinary camera and on the map. Then the next new thing, the exported clips, the export materials, you can protect the material with a password. This will encrypt the material with AES-264 and will allow sending the material, for instance, over the internet safely. This is important nowadays for the increasing data security reasons. Actually, this functionality can be used in very similar way as exporting material previously. So firstly, you select the time range, and then there is this password protection is implemented for our SEF data format. Below that SEF selection, you can see the protect password with protect clip with a password button. That needs to be checked, of course, if you want to export the material in a protected way. Now it was selected, so it will ask a password from you. Ordinary exporting process, nothing surprising there as well, especially if you are an old user. The exported clip will be opened with the spotter player, and before you get to use it, this will ask a password from you. And then again, the live footage is what you just selected. Next one, password event search. This is a report based on providing the different watchdog events on, for instance, servers and the devices. This is useful to find out potential issues that you may have in your system. So this is also a new plugin. It works by first selecting the time range you are interested in, and this is simply all the events related to that time range. You can see some errors there and some OK events. OK event can be, for instance, there was a network connection restored and network disconnected events there. On the left side, you have additional filter functions. So you can select, for instance, if you are interested only in the network issues, you can select from the left-hand side the network issues only. So you might not want to see some, let's say, VMS server is running or not running if you are indeed working with the network. On the lower left side, there is possibility to select also the cameras or other devices that the events may be related to. Again, if you have issue with camera 7, you might want to select only camera 7 from the list and run the search that way, so you can see when the issues have been outstanding. Then last but not least, we have this is also a new plugin. This is called Camera Health Audit. Intention of this plugin is to enable auditing system to make sure that each and every camera in the system is running properly. And this is important for many of use cases. We have, for instance, one casino use case where they are using this to audit 1,200 cameras on daily basis. For keeping the cameras is very important for these people to keep them up to shape. So this is based on multiple pages, and it is intended to be run by this is run by user. So firstly, you select the health audit. So in here, you can see the list of the cameras in the system. You can see short summary of those. So for instance, the camera name, when the footage has started and ended, how much footage do you have? Is the camera up or down right now? What is the how many video losses during last 90 days you have had with the camera? It will show a thumbnail of reference image and the current image of the cameras. The status of the previous audit, was it good or not? And in case there is some audit comment related to that camera. So this will start by selecting the cameras you are interested in. You might even select all of them if you want, but for the sake of this demo, we selected only one. So what's going on is basically on the bottom side, the green bars will show the connection situation of the camera and the connection history of the camera. This is if you need to find, for instance, networking issues related to that camera. On the top hand side of the screen, you can see the reference image on the left side and the live footage on the right hand side. Idea on that is that, for instance, if somebody has tampered with the camera, let's say turned the camera to a wrong direction or whatnot, you can fast see the difference here. On the lower side, on the bottom of the screen, you can see you can set a comment, for instance, that this and this error was shown, or if somebody has tampered with the camera or similar. Then to the right of the comment, there are the OK and not OK buttons that the user can select. There was the OK button is now selected, but in case there is a problem with the camera, the user can select not OK, and then to go to the next camera from the screen. Now in this demo, we selected only one camera, but anyway, when you have gone through all the cameras, a short summary screen is shown in which you can add some additional comments there. And the idea in this is that when you have done your audit, you can then save the audit as a PDF. In case, for instance, the person doing the auditing needs to sign the audit for tracking purposes. So an example of the audit export. Okay, and one thing to mention on top of that was that the history of the audits is left in the server, and you can also go back to the previous audits in case you are interested to not look on the printed materials. So Michael, please.
Okay, now it gets interesting. I'm in control and we are going to a live demo. So I have to find only my mouse. Here we are. So let's go here on our demo system, what we use on the sales side, on exhibitions, for example, where we have, in this case, only one monitor available. So we show as much as possible. It's a bit overwhelming, but we can immediately show that there is a lot of functionality in our user interface, and everything is possible according to the demands. You see here in the center, there is a camera carousel, we call it, which is moving the cameras through. Could be also in a full screen mode or kiosk mode on a retail side, for example. We have downside, we see a bit of a VCA. We have here these virtual lines in the image. We have here in the center a graphic of the metadata we are collecting since over 10 years with our video content analysis. So the customer can go back a year and say, okay, how was my Christmas business last year? How many people moved there? And we have here one section for the storyboard, for the export, which is very comfortable to make own stories to export to the police or whoever is interested in certain video footage. I can talk about this for hours, but it's just a very quick overview. We have here also own buttons people can create, virtual buttons. They don't even have to be connected to a Moxa box or a camera I/O. And when this is clicking, this could trigger, for example, here an alarm, and have all possibilities in the user interface. You see here there is the layout for the user interface. We call it the grids. Can be also easy manipulated here. So one can, for example, create a own custom grid with many more sections and columns. And then the user can say, okay, here I want to have one camera big, here I want to have only a small button or overview, then I want to have my graphical layout, representation of the data here, and so on. So it's the whole user interface is so universal, and we found out over the last 20 years that is helping really the professionals to work exactly in the way they want to use the system. So they don't have to adjust their processes. They just have to adjust the user interface and can follow exactly their processes, how they want to use the security system. Then we have here on the left side, certainly the navigation of all the elements, plugins and cameras, IOs, whatever is connected. We have the timeline here down, which can be scalable, zoomed with the mouse wheel, just to jump back then in the past and see how the weather was yesterday in Helsinki, for example. This is our live image here from today. It's cloudy, but we are still in a good mood. So here another plugin, just very quickly, the activity map. We mentioned this, which can show the amount of motion in one camera. There is also a possibility to compare this to the earlier references. So a shop owner, for example, with a fisheye camera could see easy where are in his shop the hot spots and the cold spots, and can then adjust when he was running, changing the shelves, for example. Then we have the maps like Reno showed already here, the zoomable possibilities with different hierarchies. Then you can go in different levels of the navigation, and here also the live view over the when you hover over the camera simply. Web browser plugin, we showed this here, for example, this graphical user interface for the graphs. This is basically via browser plugin. You see here also the navigation address that can be pre-configured certainly for the users, so they don't have to do anything. It opens automatically when they log in, and they can show here also other web pages like Google Maps or from a camera specific user interface, which might be required. So this makes it all very easy to integrate other systems into our system. And the communication, for example, I made here via the text channel, very simple, also a virtual button. And when I click this, I'm triggering a socket message sent to our system. And you see the message arrives here directly. And I can create an alarm, for example, out of this, or whatever I wanted to have in my system. Pop up a camera which is related to this message, and whatever is needed for the customer. We have a thumbnail search where we can go through a video footage very quickly in just then creating thumbnails which can be compared when I'm looking for a car, for example. And here another example about this watchdog. We saw this already, where you can very easy filter out what is the problem with my highway camera. I just unselect select the right camera, and I will get only for this camera the network issues, or what is the status of this camera. So there's a lot in our user interface which is fully configurable. When this is all too small, then for example you can simply just zoom here all the elements or make them smaller when you say you want to have more space, or when you say you don't want this navigation bar on the left, you can hide this as well. So full user configurable. Also the timeline here. So whatever the customer requires, we can do it with our user interface.
Okay, thank you, Michael. So then showing, hold on for a second. So then after the very interesting demo, a couple of points what will be coming in short term. So early next year, what we will be having what we'll be having in addition to what we showed you already, which is available from today and actually a week or couple weeks earlier. We have a facial blurring component under work right now. This allows, for instance, the GDPR compliances in many markets. We have addition to the web browser plugin, which we already have. We have a configurable web browser plugin in such a way that you can have multiple of the browser plugins at one time and configure a URL to that in such a way that you can, for instance, configure multiple landing pages to backend systems that you may be using. We are updating our VCA component, the video content analysis component, which is the new things it will provide besides the generic updates is improved detection of persons, cars, and trucks with AI. With AI, we have a reporting component which Michael already showed on work. You can request a demo copy of that already, but that will be coming out in very short term as well. Then some other topics we will be having is that later next year we will be having a web browser support for our spotter component, some HTTP REST API to support the integrations and improved metadata storage architecture. So what we showed already to you, we have been collecting metadata for years already, but this is in order to help integrating more components to our system, because different components are providing different type of metadata. So we want to harmonize the data to be able to provide efficient reports from the data, for instance. So now it is the time for questions and answers. Let me see, we have already some questions in the chat.
Yeah, I filtered already the best questions out, and one question I particularly like. There's no worry, we will answer all the questions to you via email because we have all your email addresses. So don't worry if your question is now not answered. But my favorite question here was about the pricing model, what we have, and the people working with us know this already, but our strategy is in general that we are only charging per channel, plus if a video content analysis channel is required, but this is all you need to pay. So you get all these features of 20 years in development and experience with buying just one channel. So that makes it very easy also to price our installations and projects. And one more question we had about integrations. I mentioned a bit in my demo about it, that we have over 8,000 cameras integrated in our software. And depending on what the third-party system can send, we can receive JSON messages, HTTP requests, simple socket messages, or even via serial port. We still have this old possibility to get data into the system and react on it. So if you are more interested in integrations, then please contact us directly. There are endless possibilities besides the SDKs and APIs we are providing on all levels of the systems to integrate with us. Is it user interface or is it backend? So everything is possible with our truly open platform video management software. I think when we go to too many questions that might be not relevant for all the people, so like I said, we will answer them in the emails. And did you find still any interesting question to answer?
This is well, there's actually quite a lot of these already, but there's one, for instance, in the past there has been a light version with lower price. Are we planning to add it in the future?
We will next year, we will come to this, but it is all still in planning, so we can't disclose too much, but we are working also on these possibilities to make it easier to enter for low demand customer to use our software.
Yes, indeed. I believe that version has been available for version 7. And as Michael mentioned, there is indeed a intention to look at the possibility for people who want to use the new version, version 8, to have a light integration, lightweight model for them. But I think we are running out of time right now. We will gather these questions and answer by email these questions to you. So thank you very much for your time. So the next step basically is how to go forward besides dropping the questions to us, or getting the questions to us. So basically the next step would be subscribe to Mirasys training platform. That you can do by sending an email to the training@mirasys.com. You can thereafter you can download the copy of the version 8.3.4 from the extranet. You will get access to that one also when you have subscribed, and thereafter you can contact our sales to request for a demo license to see what is indeed available.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope that was very informative for everybody. Till next time.
Thank you.